Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times this Saturday, October 24, 2020. For today's editorial, suicides should not be politicized. On Tuesday, the Department of Education, or DepEd, issued a statement regarding recent reports of a number of suicides among teachers and students in different parts of the country, warning that some individuals and groups were apparently trying to discredit the efforts of the department by blaming the deaths on the current distance learning program. It was entirely proper for the DepEd to issue this statement, and unfortunate that it was compelled to do so. Suicide is a sensitive and complex issue. We would like to appeal to everyone to stop directly connecting such to modules or distance learning, the DepEd statement read in part. We have received police blotters, incident reports, statements of families, and initial investigation of the cases, and none of them refer to distance learning as the primary cause. The DepEd also assured the public that it had directed its field offices to provide all necessary assistance to grieving families, and that it was continuing to provide teachers, staff, and learners with mental health and psychosocial services. It is well known that the distance learning program, which utilizes printed learning modules students can complete at home, online classes, or a combination of the two, has been difficult for most everyone concerned. The program was made necessary by the coronavirus pandemic and President Duterte's edict that normal in-person classes should not be held until students' and teachers' health could be adequately protected, presumably by the availability of a vaccine against the coronavirus. Even with the opening of the school year delayed until this month, the DepEd has little time to create a program for several million students, for which it had no experience or contingency, and quite understandably, there have been some problems. Although it seems that the majority of students and educators across the country are managing with minimal difficulties, there have been a great many credible complaints raised about the materials and the management of the program by the DepEd. As we noted in an earlier editorial, these issues should be subjected to a thorough, objective inquiry, and whatever steps the investigation reveals are necessary to improve the situation taken quickly. We stand by that earlier conclusion, which was formed after our consideration of reports of a great many teachers and administrators in certain areas, calling for the dismissal of Education Secretary Leonor Briones due to the problems encountered in the distance learning program. However, just as we stressed then that to call for consequences, particularly the rather extreme one of ousting the nation's chief educator, before fully understanding the issues is inappropriate, the attempts to link actual deaths to those issues is even more inappropriate and, if we may say so, highly disrespectful to families and loved ones of the suicide victims. The DepEd was entirely correct in its statement that suicide is a highly complex and sensitive issue. As any mental health professional would attest, determining a cause is extremely challenging and, more often than not, is a combination of personal factors that are difficult and often impossible for others to understand, even those who are close to the victim. Even if a victim was to clearly state that his or her suicide was a direct result of struggles with a distance learning program, applying a negative generalization to the entire program because of that is fallacious, because not everyone who encounters the same struggles, which a generalization implies must be the case, reacts to them in that same drastic way. To argue otherwise is simply a cynical misappropriation of tragedy for the political aim of stopping the distance learning program. Further preventing young students from continuing their education is not the solution to a program that may be flawed, as it will have even more severe and longer-lasting negative consequences. The solution, as we said in our earlier editorial, is to clearly identify the flaws and correct those. We may all certainly wish that students, teachers, and school administrators were not in circumstances that make normal education difficult, but that would get us nowhere. Patience, critical thinking, and cooperation are our best and only tools. We should all use them wisely. And that's the editorial for Saturday, October 24, 2020. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Listen to the Voice of the Times.